must be destroyed on sight.
Okay, welcome to They Must Be Destroyed on Sight, a movie podcast. I'm your host, Lee Russell, joined by my friend and co-host, Daniel Harper. Say hello, Daniel.
Hey, how's it going? It's been a long time since I've talked to you.
Yeah, fucking months now, I believe.
We just finished recording the last episode. So.
Yeah, we're trying to bang off 3 here in one night. That could be taken many different ways. Okay, we're going to be doing a movie Daniel picked this time around. It's going to be Dark City from 1998, directed by Alex Proyas, who is probably also best known for The Crow in 1994. It's also written by him, the story and the screenplay, with additional writing by Lim Dobbs, who actually wrote one of my favorite films, Steven Soderbergh's The Limey. And also David S. Goyer, who is basically a big shot producer, director, writer, everything now when it has something to do with a comic book property. It stars Rufus Sewell as John Murdoch, William Hurt as Inspector Frank Bumstead, Kiefer Sutherland as Dr. Daniel P. Sherber, Jennifer Connelly, the lovely Jennifer Connelly, as Emma Murdoch, and I will take it right over to you, Daniel, if you'd like to give a little synopsis of the film.
Sure, not at all. So basically, this is the good version of The Matrix, with significantly less kung fu and significantly more German expressionism. Yeah. So basically, this takes place in this kind of fragmented world. We don't really get it. It's a very slow burn as to how we kind of learn what happened in this world. But you kind of gradually come to learn that this is a world in which an alien species is experimenting on human beings, trying to find the source of humanity, or the what really makes us tick. Yeah. And in doing so, they are implanting memories in people and changing the reality nightly at midnight. And they each have the ability to what they call tune the universe around them, and to essentially there's this big clockwork mechanism that makes the buildings change. So you can take a little tiny flat and you can turn it into this giant mansion, and some really effective special effects sequences for 1998, which some of which have aged well and some have not. But a great film, one of my favorite films of this kind of time period. And Roger Ebert named this his favorite film of 1998. And in fact recorded an excellent commentary track on the DVD. Yeah. Which I just want to make sure that people know that exists, because it's amazing.
Yeah, and you should get the director's cut DVD, which is 111 minutes. It omits some things and adds in some new stuff, and it takes away this ridiculous monologue at the beginning of the film that gives away the entire plot before you even get into the film.
Now, I actually have not seen the director's cut. When I watched this, I own the director's cut because my wife owns the director's cut, and I just never have sat down to watch it, despite the fact that I really love the film. Yeah. When I saw this again, I have an Alamo Drafthouse in town.
Yeah.
Which is it's a so I got to see this on the big screen for the first time, and that's actually what my wife and I, our second wedding anniversary was like 2 days after this aired at the Alamo, and so we did the 10 p.m. showing. The once time they're going to show it, we got to see Dark City on the big screen, and it was pretty awesome.
Very cool.
So my wife is cooler than yours, most likely. Let's just go for that, because I said, hey, Dark City is playing the weekend before anniversary, and she says, why haven't you already bought the tickets? But yeah, so yeah, I love this film. One of the great films of its year, certainly, and I think Alex Proyas' best film.
Yeah,
I would argue
he hasn't really done anything since, honestly.
He hasn't done a lot. He did a movie called Garage Days a few years later, and I don't think he's really done anything since then. Unfortunately.
I really love this film. I love how it blends together several genres and makes them all work effectively. It starts out like a classic film noir. Almost makes me wish this movie was filmed in black and white.
I was thinking that just as when I was rewatching it, I was like, man, I want to put in the DVD and then just turn all the colors down.
Yeah, because the main character Rufus Sewell, he wakes up with amnesia in a bathtub in a motel. He doesn't know how he got there. He doesn't know who he is. He's getting these weird flashes in his mind of half-remembered thoughts and feelings. He comes out of his bathroom into the hotel room and he finds a dead hooker ceremonially murdered with a dagger, and he finds himself on the run from these aliens called the Strangers, who wear all black, and they look like the Nosferatu vampire, essentially. Yeah,
no, they do very much.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the movies that this movie draws inspiration from. I mean, you mentioned the expressionism, German expressionism feel to it. You've got a big sort of connection to like Metropolis, Nosferatu, like I said. Also feels a lot like Fritz Lang's M, but it also
M is definitely on that list.
Yeah,
for sure.
It also feels a lot like Blade Runner to me. When you look at the cities, like the chases on the rooftops and things like that, and also it feels like the best possible version of Gotham City from the 90s Batman films.
It definitely borrows. What's funny is like it feels a lot like Blade Runner or the Tim Burton Batman films, partly because those were also drawing from that same German expressionist mentality in the film noir. I'm reminded in some of the visuals remind me of Orson Welles' The Trial. With the kind of the room that's got all the drawings, all the spirals and everything. Another movie made in '98 was Pi, Darren Aronofsky's first film, and it kind of has a similar aesthetic, although a much bigger budget, obviously, but a similar aesthetic there. And really, I think that this is a film that it's easy to get lost in the visuals, and it's easy to get lost in the and to think it's all surface, which I don't think is true at all. I think this is a film. I mean, the first thing you're going to talk about is the visual style, because it is such a distinctive visual style. You talk about Blade Runner. This doesn't look like Blade Runner. This looks like something that's drawing from the same influences as Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And I actually, when I saw this at the Alamo shows, before all of their special screenings, or really all their screenings, they do, these little 30-minute, instead of showing commercials, they've pulled a bunch of footage from different things, and they actually showed some German expressionist films before this, some old silent films from the 20s, and they showed the Blade Runner trailer, among lots of other things. So the Alamo Drafthouse is a great place to go see movies. Just in case, if there's an Alamo Drafthouse, if you're listening to this podcast and there's an Alamo Drafthouse near you, you should be going to it. That's all I'm saying. And I don't even get paid. I don't even get paid by the Alamo. So
my only other question is, what's the beer selection like at the Alamo Drafthouse?
It's going to vary by location, but they have 30 taps, and they are mostly local. So
Michigan,
lots of local Michigan stuff. I've been to one of the ones in Austin, and they had a bunch of Austin-based, real ale and that sort of stuff. So. Cool. But the local one, they've almost always got, obviously Bell's is big, they've got some Bell's, they've got some Shorts. They've got a lot of the little local places that nobody's heard of unless you live here, So they've got some tapestry. They've got all kinds of stuff. But, this isn't a beer podcast, but they do have a very nice beer selection, and they serve food and all that kind of stuff.
Sweet.
I'm assuming that if you're listening to this podcast, you don't need me to tell you what the Alamo Draft House is, but it's, just Google it. If you don't know, I've been reading about the Alamo Draft House since this movie was new, because I was reading Any Cool News since about 1998, and Harry Knowles.
Yeah. Back
when Harry Knowles was like really cool, and
but,
no complaints. I'm not trying to bring that up, but definitely sold me on this place like 15 years before I actually got to go to one.
Right on,
So awesome times. Anyway, I see a lot of old movies at the Alamo now.
That's cool.
Which is I saw The Apartment. Billy Wilder's The Apartment.
Oh yeah.
With a beer in front of me on the big screen.
Nice.
Yeah. Anyway, so now that I've done the movie equivalent of Ryan Rashawn's beer conversation, right? Because he talks about all the great beer he can get.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh yeah, I saw The Apartment on the big screen. Wasn't that great? I feel bad about that.
That's all right.
But anyway, Dark City.
Yeah.
Great movie. Check it out. I was talking about how the visual style is such a compelling thing to talk about in this film, and I definitely want to keep talking about that, but I definitely don't want to give the story short shrift, because I think the story is really effective. It is kind of this, simultaneously, there is the police procedural element that comes through from William Hurt's character. You've got the female lead, Jennifer Connelly, well, pretty much virtually the only female character in the film.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
I think Melissa George is basically the only other female. She played one of the hooker victims.
I mean, you basically have two speaking female parts in this film who have more than about 2 lines. But Jennifer Connelly's really giving it her all here. She is, at times, she is bewildered. She is John Murdoch's wife. And she is, she doesn't know how to feel about her husband's activities. She's cooperating with the police, but she doesn't know if she should, and not a lot on the page there, I think, but a lot, like, Connelly really sells that role in a limited amount of screen time, and, between this and Requiem for a Dream, I really wish she was doing more acting.
Yeah, me too.
It's one of those, I'm not sure what happened to her, but she was amazing. In this, Kiefer Sutherland. We haven't even talked about Kiefer Sutherland.
Yeah, he's
doing his best Joseph Mengele, who's definitely doing that heavy breathing acting very well. I don't know what to say to you, John. Just listen.
Yeah.
The William Shatner mode of performance, but very, very effective here. I really like his performance.
Yeah.
And arguably, when you get to the end, he's really the hero of the film.
He is.
I think very much so.
And when you start, it's kind of dubious as to what he is, because if you open this movie thinking it's a noir film, and he's the first guy to talk to John Murdoch. He phone calls him in his hotel room saying, you got to get out of there real quick. Usually that's sort of the character in a typical noir who's really not there to help the main character. He's really there to entrap him in something else or use him. And technically he sort of is in a way, because he is working with the strangers to a certain extent, but he wants to get out of this as well. Like, he sees something in John Murdoch that he thinks can basically free all the people out of this nightmare trap that they're in constantly, where there's no sunshine, no daytime, it's constantly night. And at 12 o'clock, everybody falls asleep and gets new memories implanted in them. So, and he's the one doing it for the strangers. Like, they have him doing all the dirty work. So, yeah, really great character, and obviously a very tortured character. You can see from his scars that he was physically tortured and made to capitulate with the strangers.
And he also has lost all his memories. He has retained only his technical skills as a scientist. They make that clear at a certain point in the film. Yeah. That he is as lost as any of them are. Yeah. Which you really get this feeling like, what are these guys going to do? At the end of the film, when, spoiler alert, these strangers are defeated and, Murdoch brings the sun back, what does life now look like?
Yeah.
A very ambiguous ending, I think, for the
Yeah.
film. I mean, gorgeous, obviously, with the first hint of light for 2 hours sitting and watching it, and it's this gorgeous shot, and Jennifer Connelly and Rufus Sewell have their great little moment there, and hauntingly beautiful almost.
Yeah, like there's a really interesting theme in this one. I mean, on the surface, yes, it's just a very pretty movie. There's a lot of weird noir things going on. There's sci-fi action. There's telekinetic battles and things of that nature. But but when it gets down to it, it's really about what makes us people. What really defines who we are as a person. Is it our thoughts and memories, or is there something deeper inside of us? Because essentially, the main characters in this are becoming aware that something's definitely wrong. I mean, even though they've been had memories replanted in them probably dozens of times, if not hundreds.
Well, there's no sense of like how long this has been going on. I mean, the strangers could have been manipulating people and like people giving birth to new generations for millions of years, hypothetically. Yeah. I mean, because Kiefer Sutherland wouldn't live that long, but you get the idea. Like this could be a very long-term thing. It's completely isolated from the rest of the world. But from any sense of time.
But there's this obvious sort of spark in some of these characters. Like John Murdoch, he's basically a genetic anomaly in this, where he resists the treatment and wakes up with only half the memories implanted in him. Jennifer Connelly, she seems to have some sort of connection with John outside of the memories implanted in her. The detective, played by William Hurt, Inspector Bumstead, like Ebert says, not exactly a great cop, because he's just had those memories implanted in him like the day
right.
before or whatever, right? But he definitely sees there's something weird, just on intuition alone. Like, he's looking at these characters and sees, you know what? This guy seems like he's just a raving lunatic, but there really is something weird going on here. And so I think the movie's trying to explore, even if we had our lives stripped away from us, would our innate personalities eventually come through and try to, rebuild our lives to some extent, to try to take back.
And the film has a little bit of fun with that, too, in the sense that the hotel desk clerk shows up later as a magazine vendor, and has, basically the same personality. They've just moved him from one place to another. There is the kind of, the cheesy line at the end where the riffraff, sorry, what's the actor's name? I apologize. One of the strangers takes on the full John Murdoch.
Oh yeah, Richard O'Brien is Mr.
Richard
Hand.
O'Brien.
Yeah.
As Mr. Hand. A very creepy performance. Brilliantly done. He, I guess, survives longer than any other stranger. He blinks into the sunlight, and John Murdoch says, "You were looking in the wrong place," and he gestures to his heart. In this telegraphed, okay, we're at the end of the movie. We get to just state the point of the movie here at the very end. Kind of a effective moment.
Yeah, they make it very very abundantly clear how alien the strangers really are. Like, they're presented as these like sort of like plasmic kind of parasitic creatures that come out of they use the corpses of dead bodies, or the corpses of humans.
The corpses of dead bodies.
Yeah, that's good.
The dead bodies themselves create corpses.
Yeah, but they use our dead bodies as vessels to walk around in and do their thing. They're presented as very cold, very hive mind like they really don't have much of a personality outside of their collective consciousness almost. Richard O'Brien's Mr. Hand, he only really gets a personality because he's injected with the full personality that was supposed to be injected in John Murdoch of the serial killer for that phase of the experiment or whatever. So, but even then, he can't get what makes us human. Like there's this weird distance between the two species where they just don't quite get, and that's pretty much their undoing because they're trying to go about it the wrong way, essentially.
Right. There's this really creepy moment, one of my favorite bits of the film, where the first time you see a tuning happen, the first time you see the city shifting around and all these sorts of things, and you kind of hear on a loudspeaker a list of items that have been produced to sell the reality of this. On an assembly line, putting together these knickknacks from people's lives. And it's clear they know how to construct it, but they don't know what it means.
Yeah.
And it's such a telling moment in terms of, one of the things that really kind of turns me on these days in terms of movies and TV shows and media in general is world building. And Dark City is a film that's built on world building. I mean, it builds this feels like it is not a real world, it's a hyper-real world, but it is a world that is compelling and fully realized. There are no details out of place. There are no details that don't make sense.
Yeah.
This feels very organic, and it is built brick by brick, almost literally. And I love that about this film.
Yeah, I like how obviously Inception sort of swiped from Dark City. Like it's so very obvious in those scenes with the entire city just bending over.
Right. Well, and you think about what Inception is 13 years later or something like that. So you think about like how far the technology had come in that 13 years, because you look at the scenes in Inception, which are, obviously more technically accomplished in terms of, just watching it. But you think about like, wow, in 1998, this is only 5 years after Jurassic Park, when CGI was in its infancy, and some of the stuff that they're doing there are practical effects. There are some practical stuff.
Well, yeah, the Matrix.
There's some model work. There's
Matrix
all kinds of stuff.
Reused some
the
of
Matrix.
Their sets, yeah.
Oh, is that true? Really?
Yeah, they reused some of the rooftop sets apparently. So
I believe it. Yeah. Trinity kicked ass on the same rooftop that Rufus Sewell was trying to get to Shell Beach.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you have any criticisms to this film? I feel like, we're very positive about it, and I don't have a problem if we are just completely positive, but...
Yeah, honestly, I can't really say I do, because there's not really a weak moment, personally, for me in the film. I find... part of it is just the fan service to movie nerds like myself, that I go into the movie and I'm like, oh my god, there's M, there's Metropolis, there's Nosferatu, there's all these movies I love, and not only are he's drawing from those, he's not doing it in just some cute way, oh look what movies I saw, like he's really implementing it into that world building thing you were talking about, and I found basically everything was, not only did it look gorgeous, I thought all the actors did an impressive, really great job. Especially, for me, honestly, William Hurt and Kiefer Sutherland were the standouts for me. And,
I don't disagree with you.
And I think everything was as good as it really possibly could be. Even the movie doesn't run necessarily that long, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. Honestly, I'd have to say it's pretty much a perfect film in a lot of ways, as far as I'm concerned.
Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree. I really do love this film. It's such a tone poem. It's such a mood. It's so built on that reality. It's another slow burn film. We tend to be talking about slow burn films lately. It doesn't give itself away early on. Performances are great. The script is great. It's effective. I really don't have like some deep criticism. I do wish there were more women in the film.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
I think that's something that maybe is a little more clear to us today in 2014 than maybe in 1998. you know. But I don't think that it hurts the film too much. But I do think that's one of the things that I would. But you know, if you're saying it's aping the old noir films, the German expressionist films, you know, then those were all filled with a bunch of white dudes too. So
Yeah, you
you know.
usually just had the two female characters. You had the sweet, beautiful lounge singer, and then maybe you had the hooker as well. Maybe
Right.
the pretty much the two archetypes that you'd have. So I don't necessarily fault the film for not having a more broader cast. And honestly, I think if they had too many more characters in it anyway, it would probably hurt the film overall.
Right. No. It is even though it is, you know, we talk about how it's building a world here. You know, it really only has a handful of really characters
Mm-hmm.
of speaking roles, who are delved into very deeply. I mean, you get a really good sense of who William Hurt's character is and who Kiefer Sutherland's character is, and you know, the other, John Murdoch and Jennifer Connelly, of course. Um, One thing I did want to talk about is just the ending.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't mind taking a couple of minutes.
No.
I really love the ending of this film. The kind of leading up to the final battle. I mean, you basically what happens is the protagonists, William Hurt, Rufus Sewell, and Kiefer Sutherland, find the edge of the world.
Yeah.
They break through. They've been searching for Shell Beach this whole time, which is something that only exists in their deep memories. And you see, it's a place where there is sun and there is a beach, and you know, nobody knows how to get there. And finally, they find this place, and it's a brick wall.
Mm-hmm.
You break through the brick wall, and suddenly it leaches into space.
Yeah.
And there's some force field around this giant city that's just floating nowhere. Really powerful moment. I mean, I think, you know, we are not on Earth here. We are not in some enclosed area. We are not like, this is completely isolated from anything else. The strangers capture John. They essentially, Mr. Hand,
Yeah.
Mr. Hand threatens Jennifer Connelly's
Yeah.
life, to get John to give himself up. You find out that then he wakes up on a table. He's about to be they're about to just destroy everything.
Mm-hmm.
They have won. They have defeated, you know, our heroes are defeated, and Kiefer Sutherland saves the day by essentially implanting a lifetime worth of memories of teaching John Murdoch how to use his powers.
And the Matrix obviously stole that, like, because you download martial arts into your mind, and suddenly you're a kung fu master. Like, obviously, exactly the same thing.
This is an old science fiction idea. I mean, this is something that goes back to at least the 40s in written science fiction that I know of. But it's such a I remember the first time I saw this. I mean, I was moved, honestly, by how powerful those images are when it's, you know, oh, suddenly we have ripped victory from the jaws of defeat. You know, you thought we had lost, and a classic film noir would have just, okay, and then John Murdoch dies on the table. Like, that would be that's the Jet Black, you know, Terry Gilliam's Brazil ending for this film. But it, you know, we do get the happy ending, and I'm glad we get it, because I think, you know, you sit through an hour and 45 minutes of the dark, you get your 5 minutes of light at the end, and it's very, very moving. Again, I really love the ending of this film. I think it's when I think about Dark City, I think about the imagery, but I think about that last 10 minutes or so. Like, that's kind of the first thing I think of, almost.
It's really nice. And I like how it's sort of open-ended in a way where, so what is John Murdoch going to do now? Is because he is essentially usurped the strangers. He is now able to do what they did on even a grander scale, all by himself. So essentially, he is now the guy who can reshape this entire world, and it looks like he's going to reshape it into the actual memories that he has implanted in himself. You know, he's going to make the world reflect the memories that were given to him earlier. And I like that because it's left a little ambiguous as to what will become of this guy. Will he be tainted by that? Because you can sort of argue that the strangers, perhaps, they're not necessarily evil characters. They're just driven beyond, all good decency and sense in some sort of desperate attempt for survival in their experiments. And so it makes me wonder what's going to become of John Murdoch. And I like that sort of open-endedness. It's a happy ending, but at the same time, it's not a happy ending that ties everything together. So
Right. I mean, it's definitely ambiguous, and you won't hear me say this often, but I think this is a film that you might actually want to see a sequel to, like a continuation of what happens 20 years later. What is this culture like? What have these people built? What is the world of this film? And I think that because obviously the director was not concerned with giving us nuts and bolts of exactly where they are, and and the film is better for it. That we're not. Oh, and then it turned out we were 43 light years from Earth, and it was like that sort of thing. It's you never get that version of events. It'd be interesting to be like, were there like astronomy observatories in Dark City before the end of the world happens and John Murdoch takes over? Were there scientists? Were there people like looking at like the physics doesn't work the way it should and that sort of thing?
Yeah.
That would be again an interesting thing that we fun to speculate about. I think.
Yeah.
I want this film to be rediscovered not just by film nerds like us, but I want like nerds to discover it. I want people to kind of find it and have in-depth conversations about it. I want dorm room chatter about Dark City.
Yeah, I can't. I honestly can't believe it was overlooked. I mean, I guess it must have just been a little too dense and maybe weird for some people because, I mean, it's a fantastic film. I mean, I think Ebert was correct in saying it was the best film of 1998. I mean, and this was up against stuff like American History X, Saving Private Ryan, one of my personal favorite movies, The Big Lebowski, Fear and Loathing.
That was 97, wasn't it?
No, Big Lebowski was 98 as well.
Okay.
Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, Happiness, I think one you recommended to me that I haven't watched yet.
Yeah.
So I mean, this was a great year for films, and Ebert singled it out as his best.
And then you will find almost no bigger fan of Roger Ebert than myself, in terms of talking about film and talking about stories and how we talk about these things. Forget Siskel and Ebert. Let's talk about like Ebert's writing as a human being over from 1967 to 2013. He wrote for 40-something years about stories, and this was one of his all-time favorite films. Yeah. So what else needs to be said?
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're both in agreement that this is fucking fantastic. I mean,
yeah. If you haven't seen Dark City, you should really give it a shot. Although now we've kind of given away the entire plot of the thing. But,
but I don't think it's any less enjoyable. Honestly, I think it's.
Yeah, no. There's a lot in this film we didn't talk about too. And there's a lot going on. You get a lot of the great imagery. I mean, just let it wash over you. It's brilliant stuff. I mean, I would highly recommend this.
I mean, going in watching it, even though I've watched it several times. This latest time I watched it for the podcast, it still sucked me in like it did the first time I watched it. I mean, I still got really drawn in and just focused on it and didn't want to do anything else but watch the film. It was that good. So,
yeah, definitely.
All right, so
wrapping up.
So plug your shit, Daniel.
Plug my shit. Oh, my podcast.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, you can find me, if you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at Daniel E. Harper. That's probably a good way to get a hold of me. If you want to listen to me talk about storytelling and feminism and other things, sexual dysfunction, in science fiction television shows, you can listen to my Doctor Who podcast, which I do with my wife. And Lee, I think, has listened to almost every episode of that. So
I have listened to every episode. Excellent podcast.
Awesome. Yeah, so you can find that at Oi Spaceman. That's oispaceman.libsyn.com. Or you can search for Oi Spaceman, a Doctor Who love story. We're on Facebook, and we're on iTunes. And I'm trying to get us on the Doctor Who Podcast Alliance, but nobody seems to want to update that these days. So I'm not on that yet, but I've been trying.
Is Moffat on that,
yeah.
or what? All right. You can catch me on Twitter, Lee Russell, HoagleyReviews@gmail.com if you want to email, hate mail, and send me lewd pictures. And
I definitely send Lee lewd pictures on a regular basis.
Yeah, very beard intensive pictures. Also, if you want to, you're probably watching this listening to this on YouTube, so you can just click my name and see all my beer reviews and whiskey reviews and all that other nonsense. And until then, we're going to go with a song, and this time it is your turn to choose, Daniel. So, what would you like to hear?
It is actually one of Jennifer Connelly's songs from the movie, because she does play the lounge singer, and I have the title of it, because I am a bad podcaster tonight.
I'll just say
The Night Has a Thousand Eyes. That's the one.
Night Has a Thousand Eyes. And I'll say
yes.
Jennifer Connelly actually didn't sing them. It was Anita Kelsey or something like that, but I don't care. I could look at Jennifer Connelly read the phone book, so whatever.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
I'm gonna leave that sitting there right now. But yes, no, Jennifer Connelly, gorgeous, and the singer was
really good.
Really good. Yeah,
yep.
And it's a great song. So listen to it right now in your ear holes.
Yep. See you later, guys. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Mm-hmm.